reality. For more
Technical difficulties with these things.
This presentation has been brought to you by Four Walls Productions, where we specialize in creating and bringing your ideas from concept to reality. For more information on products, pricing, and more, please visit us on the web at fourwallsllc.com or call us at 856-650-6556.
All right, welcome back to Let's Get It after a very entertaining, fiery first segment when we talked about the coronavirus, but mostly the Philadelphia Eagles. But with that said, we're going to transition over to a Philadelphia team that has a lot of positivity this last week, thanks to a lot of great moves by Daryl Morey and the front office of the Philadelphia 76ers. First of all, the biggest, and I need the applause here, Jay.
Well, let's go.
I need the applause for getting rid of the Al Horford contract because that is a move. That is the move.
That's major. That was a major thing.
I mean, this team, like I said, what he did in the last week with getting rid of the contract, getting Danny Green, getting Seth Curry, getting Terrence Ferguson, getting Tyrese Maxey, just completely reshaping Dwight Howard, reshaping this team. Reshaping. It's just I know a lot of Philly fans were fired up before this.
Sure.
But now the Sixers fans are like, let's go, and let's get it going. I mean, I know that I am. I know that I still think there's some more moves coming. I think with some of the money that was opened up, I think you're going to see a splash of some sort that's still going to be made. But it's amazing how a guy comes in who knows what he's doing in the direction of an organization. And he can just say, this is what we need to do. We need to clean house, and does it, and makes changes overall. And I know you guys have a lot of thoughts, especially you, Coach. So I'm gonna go to you and kind of get your thoughts and feelings right now in the last week for the Sixers.
Yeah, I mean, I think it was an amazing week. I don't know how he did what he did. I know we were all talking originally about Al Horford for Buddy Hield, which was going to bring shooting in, but we were still going to have that contract. So for him to be able to flip Al Horford for two shooters, or end up getting two shooters, and not have anybody that's taken up that max, that big time money over a course of 3-4 years is unbelievable. And Al Horford, I feel bad for Al Horford because he didn't do anything wrong. It's not like and I know like we were talking about earlier. His wife went off on Philly fans and all that, and he got not a raw deal, but like he got his money that wasn't a fit here. So they moved him, and it wasn't his fault. But back to the Sixers, I think what Morey did was very impressive, and I think we're like a piece away now from really being a team that can compete for the championship. I don't think we're there yet. I still think there's another move. They still need a scorer, somebody who can just score on their own. But that's putting more pressure on Ben and Joel, hopefully, to make that next step to be a guy that can really, run the team.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's the biggest thing is that, this team, now you look at it and you have the pieces in place around, our Simmons and around Embiid. You have the shooters, you got Curry, you got Danny Green, and, you got guys now that are pieces. Also, by doing that, you've also extended out this roster, you've extended out the bench. I still think we need a couple more pieces here and there, but, you got to look at it like last year and whatnot. It was like we had our 5 guys, and, even that was questionable. But you had like your 4 main guys, and everyone else was kind of just trying to jump in, fit in, and kind of piecemeal here or there. But you have your 5 now, however your starters may be. But you're going to have at least 2 or 3 solid guys coming off the bench. So you extend out your roster. You extend out the team. I love the signing of Dwight Howard to be able to come in and give JoJo a break. I just think that's going to be great. I just think that you're then going to, whether you have, Matisse in the starting lineup or not, or you have him coming off the bench, either way, you have firepower and you have defense now. And with Doc at the helm, I think the expectations for this team are very high. And Jay, what's your thoughts?
Hey, listen, I actually think that, we're in the title conversation. I think we're in that title conversation. I like the pieces. I think you still need like a little bench work, I think. But you know, you got the coaching now, you got the front office. I mean, how about Daryl Morey and like kind of like exposing how expendable Elton Brand is. You know what I'm saying? Like he basically just cleaned up his mess. You know what I mean? Like, you know, that was, you know, obviously, you know, I mean, maybe he did some good things, but I mean, clearly that Al Horford contract, you know, for him to be able to get rid of that and, you know, upgrade our talent at the same time and address our needs. Doc Rivers said something. He said something that I thought was profound. He said that, listen, clearly anybody could see that this team was devoid of shooters. They needed shooters, and if they had shooters, they would be 1,000 times better.
Right.
You can't have, you know, those forces in Ben, forces in Joel Embiid, but then you don't have no shooting to complement.
No, not at all.
So, and that's where Elton Brand went. I think that, you know, he kind of might have had tunnel vision and said, okay, I need to protect Embiid because, hey, he's fragile. Okay, but then by doing that, you open up other areas. You know what I'm saying? So, they got to be careful in the future how they spend money. You know, I think, given Al Horford is, almost the equivalent of maybe another major team making a mistake by maybe overpaying a catcher. So they might just let him walk. You know what I'm saying? Like, you don't want to have several teams making those type of mistakes.
I'm just saying. I want to catch up for those who may not know the reference you're making. Jay, we always bring up the fact that the Phillies have not re-signed J.T. Realmuto. So he is, and people, but again, we'll go. That's another topic for another day.
Right.
But go ahead.
But no, I think that I like the moves they make. I'm really excited about the season. I actually think that Matisse is the 3. You know what I mean? Because they don't really have a clear small forward. But I think it has to be Matisse or whatever. But other than that, you short up I like Danny Green or even Seth Curry as an upgrade over Josh Richardson, right? So, and then, now you put Tobias at the 4, which I think he's better at,
Absolutely.
And then now you have, Embiid with Doc, not, wanting him to, Doc's going to, allow him to, or kind of groom him into being that beast. And then you got Dwight Howard. Now, if you had been a couple of years ago, I'd be like, nah, Dwight Howard, he'd be soft a little bit. So I don't really, you know what I'm saying? He smiled too much. But I made a post on this on Facebook. I was like, ever since Dwight stopped smiling, he gets busy. But see now, he don't smile no more. He's like a angry dude out there on the court. So I'm like, that Dwight, I love.
Yeah.
When you smiling and want to joke all the time, you know what I'm saying? Like Embiid has that problem. And he could help Embiid. I think it's a match made in heaven if you think about it.
Well, I think it's good. I think it's interesting because I was going to say that Dwight had it was like you got different versions of Dwight throughout his career. Like that,
Right.
like Dwight came in the league. Dwight was a monster. He was tenacious, intensity,
Smiling.
Smiling.
Right.
He was Superman doing dunk. Like he was a
Smiling.
fake. Then all of a
Right.
sudden, he just fell off, and his intensity wasn't there, and he
Right.
became soft. And people are like, "What happened to Dwight Howard?"
Right.
But like you said, he has kind of found it again.
Yes.
And he can talk to Joel about the need of saying, listen, you got to have that intensity. You got to keep the foot on the pedal to the metal.
Right.
Because for Joel, it's almost like the reverse.
Right.
Like he's coming into the league and people, continue to say, oh, I need to see more toughness from Joel. I need to see him go in and get it and go get it. Because he always has the numbers. The numbers are always there. People a lot of times will say, oh, Joe's numbers are kind of soft and hollow. Like he's not tough.
Right.
And I think Dwight could come in there and show him, like, listen, this is what you need to do to be that dominant big man.
I think he can
Because
help him.
the thing is, like we talked about before, when Joe is playing the best he can, who's going to stop him?
Nobody can stop.
Who stops him?
He's unguardable when he's focused like that. But I think the way the roster's constructed now, it allows Ben Simmons
Ooh, Ben Simmons.
to be what's the word here? To be the mismatch or however you want to say it that he can be. Because now, Jay, you were talking how Matisse is the 3. They don't have a real 3.
Right.
But now you don't even really need a 3. Meaning defensively, Ben can guard the 1 through the 3. So now you can just put your whatever shooters you want out there.
Right.
And Ben can really guard the 1 through the 4.
Right.
Based on who else you get. So if you have another shooter that you're
Great
bringing
point.
in, or so I think that helps them out a lot. Whereas last year they couldn't really do that
Right.
because you already have Horford and Embiid on the court.
Right.
that put Tobias at the 3, which he's not comfortable with.
Right.
And I think that's going to be a major thing. Having Tobias at the 4,
At the 4,
I
right?
think is going to be huge for him. He can guard the 4. He has an advantage against most 4s offensively.
Right.
But at the 3, he was out of position.
No, and you saw when people try to play certain play like Carmelo. Carmelo's a 4.
Carmelo's a 4.
But at certain times, it's particularly even with some of the Knicks teams they wanted to play him at the 3. You know what I'm saying? Now you can't play him at the 3. You know what I'm saying? He's too slow. Right. But at the 4 he could really flourish.
Especially
and he did
with
well when he was at the 4.
Right.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So the same thing is kind of with Tobias. Because now he could outplay other 4s. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
But then he's not gonna get burned on defense.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So, but then that's an interesting point too, though, because you have that Ben. Fact that you brought up that you really can go with 3 guards.
Right. Exactly.
You can go with Curry
And
and
Green.
Green and Simmons,
Right.
Tobias, and I like that lineup.
Oh, I like that.
I like that
lineup.
lineup.
I mean, you think
know
about
what I
it.
mean?
Think about it too, because now you're looking at also if you're able to have those shooters on the floor. I mean, that's what we didn't have, and we talked about it.
Right.
So now that makes Simmons even more deadly.
Well, you had it. I think you had it, but Brand got rid of it. I think you had it with Ilyasova. You had that year. You had Ilyasova.
When you had Ilyasova, Bellinelli,
and Bellinelli, and you still had JJ.
Yeah.
Like they was shooting, battling. Especially that Celtics game, they shouldn't have lost that overtime game. They shouldn't have lost that game. But that was the coaching thing. So and that's why I think that sometimes poor play highlights itself, but so does poor coaching. You know what I'm saying? But you can't make excuses for the players. You have to be able to highlight their poor play.
Are you
I'm not.
are you talking about anything else in particular?
No, I'm just saying,
I'm
in general.
that.
You have to be able to highlight their poor play, okay?
Listen, we
And
get
not be
that.
afraid to shine the light on them. That's all I'm saying.
Well, okay,
You know.
but here's
You
okay,
have
but
any examples
accountability. You know what? No, but you know what? No, I don't. And you know what? I'm glad you brought this up. I'm glad you brought this up.
Sure.
Because this just shows that, and when we talked about organizational moves and being able to look at your team and the needs and make the
Good
moves
point.
that are there, Daryl Morey comes in, makes the moves.
Mm-hmm.
You got Howie Roseman sitting there looking at his team, knowing that his team has to have moves and just trying to overthink. So again, it shows that when you have a guy looking at your team and actually saying what needs to be done and doing it, then I think in this situation, I'm glad you brought it up.
Well, I mean, but just allow me just to rebut that for a second. The mind frame is different, though. Daryl Morey has to come in because the fan base is like thriving for a championship since '83. The Eagles management brass or brace or whatever, they just became world champions 2 or 3 years ago, right? So their mentality is different. Part of their problem, to be honest with you, their biggest mistake was paying Carson Wentz. But I don't want to go back to Carson. I'm sorry, I apologize. But I support you, brother. I didn't even bring him up. I was just talking.
You know what?
in general
And again,
about
you
players
want
and
to talk about
I support
connecting
you.
the dots. You want to talk about connecting the dots.
He
so.
brought him up. I didn't even
because-
bring him
But
up.
you want to talk about connecting the dots? Here's the thing. We can bring all the Philly teams into this. But there's another team I can bring into to show your point. And we'd always like to talk about JT Real Muto. All right?
Is it Real or Real Muto?
JT Real Muto.
Right.
I think everyone says
He's
that.
Real Muto.
Yeah,
Okay.
but here's the thing. You don't even understand what you're talking about
Okay.
because he's the
Okay.
best catcher in baseball.
No, okay.
But here's the thing, though, too. That's another thing because you have a front office of the Phillies who can't look at their team and see what they need. They're sitting back also and not making any moves. So so the thing is, I think why the Sixers are so smart too is because they are jumping on a market right now, which is just sitting here clamoring. What's the word? Clamoring
Right.
for something to cling to. And when they came in and made the moves that need to be made, so often recently, the Philadelphia fan base has just been sitting there yelling for moves to be made, and they're not being made or the wrong ones are being made. So I just think now it's like there's so much excitement in the air because of what happened, and they are capitalizing on the market right now. The Sixers, if you ask me, have jumped to the top of the list as far as excitement for teams, easily.
Go ahead.
What's the move? The move, like you're talking about the moves. The move that the Sixers made of everything that's happened, the most important move they made was bringing in Daryl Morey.
Yep, absolutely.
And that goes back to the ownership.
Ownership.
And
So,
they, and it's-
Laurie, Clintac, I'm sorry,
No, you're
Laurie, Middleton, Yeah,
But,
exactly.
it goes down to this. So now Elton Brand's their boy, obviously. So they weren't even afraid to say, "Listen, Elton, we're gonna push you to the side a little bit. We're not gonna get rid of you.
Right.
We're not gonna make it look like it was your fault.
Right.
But listen, you're gonna step here,
Right.
and we're gonna bring this guy in." And that's a winning attitude, and that's kind of like, and I don't want to go back to Carson. But like that's what I'm talking about.
You got really
hold on,
tested my
no.
patience today, but
Hold
okay.
on. But like that's what I'm going. Like if you think Jalen Hurts is your guy, you have to be willing to say, listen, this is what we're gonna do. And obviously I think it shows that they don't really believe that he's the guy because they haven't done that. But anyway, but like you have to make those tough decisions in order to bring your franchise.
Here's your thing:
forward.
if that was your thought, and I hate to go back to that, but if that was really your thought, if they were really over Carson, then this what they need to do is they say, go make that move, get Jalen Hurts, and then move Carson.
Well,
So,
I mean, again, I just want to say that, because, and just going back to like the point, with I was trying to make with the Sixers is that I agree with you, Randy. They have real leadership because real leadership knows how to make the hard decisions.
Absolutely,
When
yeah.
they see,
Right.
okay, this is a problem.
Yeah.
So
we're not living up to our standard.
Right. Now, Elton Brand did something that is pretty prototypical of, maybe, I don't want to say the Eagle fan, but maybe the Philadelphia leadership, which is to say, hey, you know what? I like this person. They think this person could do something. They kind of saw things with a blurry vision and paid Al all that money. You know what I'm saying? The same way that other leadership has paid, other players all that money before they really, maybe they shouldn't have paid them.
But it goes back to
So I agree. Real leadership shows that the Sixers leadership said, you know what, Elton, you done messed up. Here.
Right.
You done,
They did.
and in fairness, Elton even said, hey, listen, you know what? He did something that some other people in Philly can't do, which is to say, hey, I messed up. I know I messed up. I was learning. I made some mistakes on the way. Of course, he got knocked for that because we're like, wait a minute, you come on, you making millions of
And it's
dollars.
funny, and we're sitting there, and if he doesn't say that, maybe the Sixers organization doesn't make that move for Daryl Morey.
So you see what I'm saying, that
No, I
that
agree.
the accountability is critical. So I think the Sixers have put themselves in a position
They have.
where they are now contending for a title.
And and like
I love the moves
and I
they
know
make.
we got a lot of people watching on on with us, and I know a lot of people were saying that was Morey's thought process when he was in Houston. So you knew what you were getting. You knew you were going to get a guy who could make those moves and make those decisions for you. So
And the only thing, and I just talking on the live stream, he went overboard in Houston though. I think
he did too.
he was like playing video games in Houston, which worries me a little bit because
I don't think they cared though. Like what I mean, I think it was kind of like in Houston. I'm sorry to cut you off. I'll get through it. I mean, my thought was in Houston, they just wanted to fill the seats, and if we so I feel like a lot of his moves were seat filling moves.
Yeah, and I'm bringing in CP3 first, then he brought in Russ, and all that was great. But when they traded Clint Capella,
That's where they went wrong.
and then they're saying Robert Covington's going to be our center, or PJ Tucker's going to be our center, like you lost your mind a little bit.
Right.
And that cost them, in my opinion, a chance to
Championship.
beat the Lakers.
Yeah.
I think if they have a big guy, they have a shot at it.
Yeah.
But no, I mean, I think you know what he's done so far has been unbelievable. I never, if you would have asked me last week, I would have said we're not going to be where we are right now. I think we had 3 bad contracts and we got rid of 2 of them, and now him getting rid of those 2 contracts makes Tobias's contract not that bad anymore, so which is huge.
So and we were talking before. So we were talking about a lot this show about having people be held accountable. So when it comes to the Sixers, at the end of the day, one of the biggest still question marks is Ben Simmons. Is he going to elevate his game to the next level? Is he going to shoot the basketball? Is he going to become that offensive threat? Even though he still puts on the numbers and he gets the buckets and whatnot, is he become that threat? When does Doc Rivers and the Sixers hold Ben accountable if he doesn't take that next step? Because we still look for this team to succeed, we still need Ben and Joe to even push their games to another level.
Well, listen, Ben, first of all, listen, I'm gonna give a shout out to just the Sixers leadership. You know what I'm saying?
Sure,
Like
absolutely,
they
yes.
did a great job. You know, I think Daryl Morey. And you know, but at the same time with Ben, right? Ben's not terrible though. He's not. You know, he needs to definitely push forward, but he's not like garbage out there. Like you know
No,
what I'm
and
saying?
that's and he's not.
You know,
Absolutely.
but then also I want to also recognize. Do you see with real leadership on how real leadership can change things like that? I think you're going to see that with Doc Rivers and his coaching too. And I think you're going to see that leadership and that level of coaching be different than Brett Brown. And I think you're going to see a different performance on the court as well.
I hope so. And here's the
Okay.
point, and here's the other thing too.
And
you
maybe
know,
more out of Ben and more out of Joel.
if the
You know what I'm
Sixers
saying?
are ever going to win a title, Ben and Joe both have to elevate their game even more. You know, they're both great, but they have to be phenomenal. They
Right.
got to take
That's a
this
great
team
word.
to a
Yeah,
whole.
I
You
can
know,
see that.
they're both great players. They're both phenomenal. But people
Yeah.
talk about trading Ben Simmons. I'm not shut the hell up because you don't know what you're talking about.
Right.
I mean, I don't
Right.
think the trades for Ben. There's few and far between players that I would trade for Ben. So
No, I think Ben's a keeper.
Yeah.
I think he's a keeper. And now with this, you know, you're gonna really be able to see who, if anybody has to go. Doc Rivers is gonna be charged with either trying to make it work or trying to identify who is the one that needs to go. This is almost like we're entering. I mean, they're a different level of a team, of course, but this is like what happened with Iverson and Stackhouse.
Right.
You know, they
Right.
couldn't
play
they couldn't play together. They couldn't coexist. But you had 1 year to see, okay, who got to go, Iverson or Stackhouse, and you know how that happened, right? So you know that's what's going to happen, and hopefully you know the real leadership and players hold. It comes down to players hold themselves accountable, not just saying, oh, okay, you know what, I'm gonna keep doing the same thing. You know, this is what I do, blah blah. Like you can't be like that. You can't grow as a player if you're continuing to do that. It's the same way you feel upset about Ben not shooting that jump shot, right? We got to hold him accountable for that jump shot. It's the same thing.
So what if we come out here, and I think Coach, we're about to say something, but what if we come out here again in this preseason, if they have one, who knows what's going to be going on, but and we see Ben giving us that BS, oh, look at him shooting the three. I don't want to see that shit anymore. If you're not going to do it, don't do it ever. Don't sit here and tease the fans. I don't want to see it, or I don't want to see this random 1 3-pointer every 8 or 9 games. Shoot the ball or don't shoot the ball. At least we know what side of the fence you're on.
Yeah, I don't even, this is going to be against the popular opinion. I don't even think he has to shoot the ball. And
Well, now he doesn't.
And that's what I mean. Like, if you surround him with other guys that can shoot the ball, the key to him is he still has to be aggressive in just trying to score the ball. However you're going to score it, just put the ball through the basket. But his problem is when he doesn't even look to score,
Right.
and he stands at the top of the key and just looks to facilitate that way. If you're going to be that guy, we have no chance to win. But if you're going to be the guy who's getting into the lane, trying to score, but then when the help comes, now you're kicking to guys that can actually make shots, then I think they can still be successful until the playoffs.
Right.
Because then once you get in the playoffs, you got to have that dog that can just score.
You do, and that's still that to me, that dog's got to be Joel.
I think Doc makes him that dog.
Yeah.
I mean,
Feed him the ball and say, go to work.
Because the game's gonna slow down. You know that in the playoffs, the game slows down, so there's gonna be some post touches. You know what I'm saying? And he has to get busy. As long as he can get busy in the post, and when he kicks it out, them shooters can shoot. Them lanes is wide open for Ben Simmons to do his thing and do what he do. You know what I'm saying? But you need the others like Matisse. I think Matisse is gonna have a big role this year.
For sure.
Big role this year, and Tobias too. So this is Tobias like. It's either we gonna keep him here or we gotta
Shake.
Shake is shaking out of here. He's garbage. You know what I'm saying?
No, I know he's gonna be.
He's garbage. He's gotta
We got
go.
time.
He's gotta go. He's too shaky out there for me.
I still worry about, I know Joel's going to always be the best player on the floor for the Sixers.
Right.
The first, the second, the third, and the first half of the fourth quarter.
Right.
But then, everybody watched the playoffs this year. If you go back to all those playoff games, it was never a post guy who was dominating the game at the end of the game. It's always the guards. It's always the wings because it's tough to get the ball into the post late in games, and that's just how the NBA is. So I just don't know who that guy is going to be for the Sixers right now. And that's what worries me. I think throughout the regular season they'll be fine. I just think once you get in the playoffs, it's going to be a different animal.
It is, and I still think, and like I said, that's where Joe's got to do it. But at some point, you're going to have a guy who's going to go knock down a shot. You know, and I don't want to see Joe out on the perimeter shooting a three.
Well, I don't think he needs to. I mean, when you heard about him shooting a three and him not being in the box, was that since he's been there, or that's really been the last 2 years, right? Or the last year? I mean, really the last year, though.
You know,
right?
I would say, yeah. I mean, he's become a lot more three happy.
The last year, though, I mean,
Yeah.
because others you could live with him shooting a three because you had JJ, you had the brothers banging them threes.
It wasn't as noticeable
like it was last year.
Because then, you know, you'd have those games where all of a sudden it'd be like, JoJo, it's 2 threes in a row.
Right. So,
You know,
I mean, but it takes
oh,
the
man, Mark
pressure.
Zumoff.
It takes the pressure off him, though. You know what I'm saying? And that's what I'm saying. Like, you know, and again, it goes back to the leadership, man. It goes back to the leadership. Identifying, knowing when to push the button and when to say, you know what, okay, no, this one has to go. I think Tobias is on notice, and I think you have the coach with that base now. 'Cause I don't think Doc had that.
Hey,
Yeah.
that's it.
Yo, Jamie Foxx does the best Doc Rivers.
Oh.
Not Ben, I can tell you it's not Ben. Ben didn't do it.
But you get started. Hey,
Right.
how did you? I can't be shooting like that.
Right.
But you know, here's the thing though, is that I tell you, at the end of the day, the person who is happiest about these moves is Tobias. It really is.
Oh, sure.
Because Tobias is like, woo! It was getting hot up here in Philly.
Sure. But I think that, you know what I mean, and I think you're gonna see him a little more well grounded, you know.
Yeah.
Congratulations too on his engagement, you know what I'm saying?
I saw that,
Yeah,
yes.
nice little engagement. So, you know, now, you know, marriage, you know, grounds him a little more. So, you know, that's cool, you know. But I just think that, you know, and then he's gonna have Danny Green, you know, 2 Long Island kids, you know, we gotta, you know.
Shout out to Long Island.
Absolutely, you know.
So
You know, I think they're gonna be. I think they're in the hunt. I think they're a title contender.
well, yeah, they
I
are.
think they can take
100%.
that. I think
They
they
are.
can take the
I think
East.
the East is going to be a beast, though. No,
Yeah.
you know, no
Yeah.
rhyme intended, but it's
Yeah.
going to be eating each other up.
Yeah.
And yeah, we'll see what happens. I
Yeah.
think it's going to be good, though.
Yeah.
I think it'll be very good.
Yeah.
And it is going to be a different team.
Very different team. Very different team. I'm excited though, man. I'm excited and I can't wait, man.
No, I do too. You know, and I just think that it's fun. It's fun to be a Sixer fan right now.
Mhm.
And I think they're jumping on the opportunity in Philly with all the other teams on the downslope
Mhm.
to be just like take the center of attention.
Mhm.
Because basketball in this town, when they're good,
Mhm.
is
Yeah.
awesome.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah.
So with that said, we're going to be cutting a quick commercial break. When we come back, we continue our basketball talk. We go around the league for a lot of different moves. Once again, you're watching Let's Get It. We're right